Hi Year 1. This week in maths we are learning about fractions. Well, what is a fraction? Well, imagine we have a whole thing and we cut it into parts. Those parts are called fractions. So have a look at this piece of paper here. This piece of paper is my whole. It is one whole thing. If I cut it into two parts, then I have two halves. I've cut my whole into two parts, and these parts are called fractions. So I had a whole, now I have two parts, two fractions. And because I've cut it into two pieces, we call these a half. So let's have a look at our star words for today. Our star words this week are fraction, part, whole, half, divide, share, quarter, group, and equal. Now in today's printables, you'll see a sheet of paper with lots of different shapes on it. Please print that out for today's activity. If you don't have a printer like me, then what you can do is you can get a normal piece of paper and you can draw some shapes. Now what I've done here is I took some objects like this bowl to get a circle, and a little pad to get a rectangle, and I used a ruler to draw a line at the bottom of my sheet, so you can make some different shapes by drawing around objects. Then you're going to use some scissors to very carefully cut out your different shapes. Now you can have as many shapes as you want. I've got 3 shapes here, but you can always do more or less if you want to. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try folding our shapes in different ways. So I've got my circle here, and I'm going to try and fold it. I'm going to try and fold it so that it's exactly in half. So see there, I have now got half a circle. And if I open my circle back up, I can see the line here really clearly. This shows me that I've got my one whole and I've got 2 halves. Now with fractions, it's really important that we have equal parts. We can't just cut off a tiny bit and say that that is a half. They have to be the same size. So you can see here in my circle, I folded it down the middle so that the 2 halves are exactly the same size. And you can see that by folding it, they fold over exactly to cover each other, so they are definitely the same size. I'm going to try that with another shape. Now I've got my rectangle. I'm going to fold this rectangle in half. So now you can see, if I open it up, there is my whole. And I can see by the line of the fold, here are the 2 halves. Now, is there another way that I could have folded this shape? Well, let me think about it. Maybe I could fold it this way, so that it's longer. Now if I open it up, I can see another line here. So I've got 2 different ways of showing half of this shape. I could have these 2 halves, or I could have these 2 halves. But I wonder if you've noticed something else about this shape now. Now I've got these 2 lines. How many parts to the shape do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't just have halves anymore, I also have quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. That's another kind of fraction when I split a shape into 4 parts. Take my last shape here. This is my really long rectangle. I'm going to fold it in half. And I can see that I have really clearly got 2 parts. Here is my whole, and here are my 2 parts. Now it's really important with fractions that the parts are the same size. So I couldn't just fold this corner on the end and say, oh, there we go, that's a half and that's a half. They need to be the same size. Now I wonder if I folded it again in another way. Now I've got 4 parts. Can you see? 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts to my long rectangle. So does that mean I have halves or quarters? Well, because it's in 4 equal parts, these are quarters. So I can see that my line, my rectangle, is now cut up into 4 equal parts. But even though I have quarters, I also have 2 halves, because the shape can still be into 2 halves or 4 quarters. So you can see that I've got my whole, I've got 2 halves, and I've got 4 quarters, all part of the same whole. So have a go at folding some shapes for yourself. Remember to fold them so that they are the same size, so that the fractions are all equal. And then if you want to, you could even draw lines over where you've done the folds and write in our fraction numbers. Remember that a fraction is one number over another number. So when I've split it into 2 parts, I have 1 over 2, because I've done 2 parts, that's my half. And over here, 1 over 2 to represent half. Or you could show quarters, of course, by showing the 4 different parts of your shape. And a quarter, because we've split it into 4 equal parts, is 1 over 4. So this number here means a quarter. So you can show the different fractions in your shape. Have a go at folding different shapes and finding different fractions. Remember to take some photos and share with your teacher on Padlet. Have fun, Year 1!